Take a listen to how Chuck Todd describes the state of our pandemic and how we've handled it, how our government, under the direction of Donald Trump, has handled it. And tell me if you don't think it's more than a dereliction of duty. Something more really needs to be done. You just have to see this to grasp how incompetent this entire fiasco is.
More than 308,000 people have now died from COVID in this country. The CDC director has predicted that over the next month, at least, we're going to see 9/11 levels of fatalities every single day. Nearly 3,300 deaths were reported from COVID yesterday alone. That was the single deadliest day of this pandemic. If the death toll alone doesn't highlight how badly we need a full accounting of what happened, there's this. House investigators on a subcommittee specifically devoted to the pandemic disclosed that they'd discovered communications within HHS showing that one of the president's top science advisors specifically said of low-risk groups that, quote, "We want them infected." That was basically a herd immunity strategy focused on protecting only the most vulnerable. This private communication came, of course, as the president was publicly downplaying the health risks of COVID while contradicting public health experts and pushing for states to fully reopen. Bottom line is the White House was publicly vowing to limit the spread of the virus. There were obvious efforts underway to implement strategies that ended up doing the opposite, all as President Trump was trying to avoid shutting down the economy because he thought it would help his reelection effort. Getting to the bottom of the depths of the political interference at our country's public health agencies is obviously of major importance. On that issue, the CDC's former chief of staff and his top deputy are opening up about how the agency was sidelined, in part by political allies of the president. In an interview with the New York Times, they said, quote, "Everyone wants to describe the day that the light switch flipped and the CDC was sidelined. It didn't happen that way. It was more of like a hand grasping something, and it slowly closes and closes until you realize that middle of the summer, it has a complete grasp on everything at the CDC." Folks, the president's response alone to this pandemic will be remembered as one of the biggest failures of government leadership in our nation's history. And while the speed of the vaccine is rightfully being recognized as a medical marvel, there have nonetheless been cascading failures across our government and from our elected leaders. It's resulted in more deaths so far than the number of Americans who died in battle during World War II. The public deserves a full and independent accounting of what happened. We've had plenty of commissions that do this and do this well.
And we have to ask ourselves, how is it possible that this guy came so close to an electoral college win, not a popular vote win? He lost that by a landslide. There is a problem. There's a communication problem in this country. There's a problem with how we get information to the right places, and it is something that we have to solve. We have to stop talking to the choir. We have to start talking everywhere, and that is why we must share all these points of true information that gives people the option of seeing things the way they really are. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.